Hey YouTube. So here's the tile floor now. All I have to do is grout, as you could see. Now you could kind of see from the doorway how those look nice and even. And you see how I got all these tiles in the beginning of the doorway even all the way through. And every other row is 6 inches. So now 6 inches off. In other words, from line to line, those are all 6 inches. And here's what I was saying about the cuts aren't going to be even from this side to this side, which it really doesn't matter. Like I said, because you're going to have a sink cabinet here, 36 inches from the corner out. You're going to have your toilet here. This is the most important part. Now, if you stand back here and you look down the wall here, can't really tell on my camera. But once I put the baseboard and everything on, I'll take another picture. I just put the tiles around the edges. And usually a heater like this is just screwed or nailed to the wall. So I got this heater on right now. But I took the heater off the wall. So my tiles are all the way under that heater. Again, don't try cutting around heaters or anything like that. Take the screws out, take the nails out. 9 out of 10 times they're nailed to the studs in the wall, so you're not really get a flat bar. This is what I did here. I took my flat bar, removed the cover, and you'll see, wait a minute. You'll see in here where my finger is. There was a nail there, and there was a nail under it here. There are only 2 nails holding this in, but that's where the stud is. So if you get your flat bar in here and just easily pry, you could see here too. I don't know if you could see it, but right here you could see a nail in the wall. So I know my pry bar, even though I made a tiny little mark on the wall, that's nothing. I'll touch that up with paint, but I didn't damage the wall. And I got the heater off. And we're tiled all the way under that heater to the wall. Now what I'm gonna do as an extra precaution is I'm gonna actually silicone caulk all these gaps here where the toilet is, all along this wall here, all that. I'm gonna actually silicone caulk it, get it nice and flat. And then when I put my baseboard on, I'm gonna put a bead of caulk under the baseboard. So in other words, I'll show you here as an example. And I already cut my threshold here. So here's the piece. So here we go. Here's what I'm gonna, oh, hold on a second. Let me clean this off. Clean this off a little bit. But here you go. Here's what you do in a bathroom, especially a bathroom. Now you can see how that's just a piece of the threshold, but you can see how nice that's gonna sit on the floor here. So what I'm gonna do is this underside, hold on. I'm gonna shoot a bead of caulk right here, okay, on my baseboard. Also, I'm gonna shoot a bead of caulk here on my baseboard. So when I put it down, I'm gonna press it. The caulk is gonna squirt out the bottom, and I'm just gonna take my caulk tool and clean it there. If any squirts out at the top, I take my caulk tool and clean it up there. And then you just take a warm damp rag or something and clean it up. If you use the caulk tool though, you don't need, believe me, the caulk tool will just make it perfect perfect, the lines, because it's got a little rubber. It's a little triangle, and it's got a little rubber gasket on the tip of it. So when you press it up against something and you rub the caulk tool, it will clean as it's going. The rubber gasket cleans the caulk right off. And that makes it perfect. And if you don't cut a big hole in the end of your caulk tube, what I usually do is I cut my ends of my caulk tubes at like you know, somewhat of a 45-degree angle. It doesn't have to be a perfect 45-degree, but I don't even know if I have one here. Okay, yes I do. So what I'll do is, I don't even know if I want to open this right now. What I'll do is, I'll just kind of demonstrate here. I'll take my razor knife and I'll cut my caulk tube at an angle, like a 45-degree angle. In other words, if I could get this on here, the end of my caulk tube will have an angle like that. So now, when you go to put your caulk tube up against anything like this, you're already going to have your angle on your tube. So you just slowly squeeze the trigger and go. Just like that. And you'll get a perfect bead of caulk every time. Every time you'll get a nice straight bead. If you cut a big hole in your caulk tube, you're going to be cleaning up caulk. You're not going to get the lines nice and straight and smooth. You don't have to worry about caulking this tub because it's a one piece. I'm going to caulk around the top of the tub and maybe clean up the sides of the tub there. But it doesn't look bad, as you can see from my camera. But there's the tile. That's how I got them. Like you see here, that's how I got them all nice and even. I marked out my lines. I started from this end here with full 6s at the end, and I left my 6-inch from corner to corner all through the floor. And you don't have to measure them all out. You don't have to measure your gap every single tile. You know what I mean? Because as long as you got 6 up here and you got your spaces in there, you're pretty much, your layout, as you can see, is all gonna be consistent. And I did do this kind of like a subway pattern, as you can see here. It's kind of like a subway tile. You got your every other, you got that row, you know, every other row kind of looks like a zigzag. If I go across the floor here, you could see that there, how all those tiles are laid out. So this is going to be nice. It's all nice, as you can see me walking on it and sliding you can see when I'm sliding my feet across this floor, I'm not kicking none of the edges of the tiles. These tiles were actually super cheap too. The owner of the property bought cheap tiles. So, I mean, that's another little thing I'm going to tell you. If you see tiles at Home Depot, Lowe's, anything, and they're like really discounted tiles, and I'll tell you, the reason why those tiles are so discounted is because people have bought them, laid them down, and they're not perfectly symmetrical. They're not perfectly. Tiles anyway, I mean, even the most expensive tiles, they're all going to have, any kind of tile. I've been working with tile for 20 years now. And any kind of tile, I've put marble, stone. They're never all perfect. Never all perfect tiles. They're never perfectly square. You know what I mean? That's just the way they are. That's just the way they come. They're ceramic tiles. So they're made, when they make the ceramic tiles, it's like a mud basically, and then they put them in a kiln and they heat them up and dry them. Same way they make bricks. Bricks and tile are basically made the same way. Only difference is tiles got a ceramic coating, porcelain coating, whatever on the top of your tiles. There's, you know, different types of coating on the tops of the tile. So you don't want to put porcelain coated tiles in a bathroom anyway, because when they're wet, they're super slippery. And I'm just, as you can see, because I walked in here, you could actually, good thing to do is what I'm doing right now. Before you start doing your grout or anything like that, mop your floors down a couple of times. Make sure they're nice and clean and you don't have any kind of debris in there. What I do is I take my vacuum cleaner and I vacuum out all the lines before I grout. Make sure they're all clean and clear of debris, because what's gonna happen is if you don't vacuum out these grout lines, you know, you're walking on the floor, there's stuff in your shoes, boots, whatever you use, whatever you wear. And as you're walking, all that debris is falling into these cracks. So then when you go to grout, you're pulling pieces of debris that are in there, you're pulling it out of the tiles. And then sometimes it gets caught on the surface of the tile and you gotta like pick it out and all that stuff. But if you vacuum really good in between all the lines before you grout, you're gonna suck out any kind of debris or anything in there. Less hassle when you're going to grout. You know your grout's gonna come out nice and smooth and consistent. But these tiles, I don't know, they're not the greatest. And I'll show you here. I mean, if you barely, like that, look at that. Oh, you barely touch these tiles with something. And I'm barely tapping it. And now you can see all the little chips in there. See that? Some of them, a couple of them I was pulling out of the box. And two of them I pulled out of the box. And here's one here. See, I couldn't use, and this also, with any kind of tiles, you're gonna get this. That's why you get an extra box. They're chipped. Look at it, there's a chip here. There's a big chip here. This is all chipped here. So this one tile was all chipped up in the box already. And most likely, this big chip right here is from when shipping. Because they put these big straps, they put these ratcheting straps on the what do you call them? On the pallets. They load all these on pallets and then they ratchet strap. So whatever boxes usually sometimes are on the top or on the bottom, they got like bends in the boxes. If you see damage to the box, that's what that is. They ratchet the strap too tight before they shipped them and they cracked. And that strap cracked the tiles. But here's my waste pieces. There's not too many here. And the reason why I have so many waste pieces on this job is because, as you see, this was a chipped one, so I didn't use this. I used this side of the tile. So if this tile wasn't wasted, even though I had a chip in it, I still used it. You know what I mean? And then I have very few waste pieces out of 4 boxes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. A bunch of little pieces for my end cuts here. And these are all the side cut tiles. And if you could see, I don't know why. Oh, that was too small. But some of these are cut both sides. Because what I did is, instead of wasting 2 tiles, on these little pieces here, that was a full tile. So I slide. Once I got these tiles down, I put my full tile up against the wall. I mark here. I go 1/8 of an inch back. Doesn't have to be exact because all trim is going to go here. So even if you're a little over 1/8 of an inch. And then I mark that end here. I mark this end here. You spin the tile around backwards. You mark it backwards. You mark your end, you mark your end. And then what you do is take a measuring tape and put it on both sides. And you got to remember that you're marking a tile backwards, in other words. So when you spin it around this way, when you take that tile and you spin it around, you got to just make sure that if this is a wider space from here to wall and that's a wider space from here to wall, just measure your, you know what I mean? Measure your marks. And then sometimes when you're putting a straight edge, I'll show you. Sometimes when you're putting a straight edge on, cut your tile. In other words, you're gonna have, oh, here's my pencil. You're gonna have, I'm just gonna do this for example. All right, so here's, pencils dead. Pencils no lead. So here's your mark on one side of the wall, and then we'll go a little bit past that. Here's your mark, because you might have an uneven wall. So what you do is you take your, and I use a T-square. So you just line up your T-square with your mark right there and your mark right there, as you can see. I'm gonna do this with one hand holding my phone. Let's see. And I'm gonna just, and then you just trace your mark out like this. All right. Okay, now you could clearly see, if I hold this up, you could clearly see this end is wider than this end, okay? But when you cut this, take this in here. If your wall's a little crooked, because you could see here, that's almost a straight tile there, and you could see where I got my pinky, the space in there. You could see the walls all bubbled out right there. So once you cut this side, here's your good edge on this side. Once you cut that, you're gonna pick up your tile. You're gonna spin it around. Now here's where your cut's gonna be, and if your wall's crooked, your smaller end's gonna be in the right place, and your bigger end's any type of flooring. Any type of flooring, whether it be vinyl, laminate, you know, vinyl plank, laminate, hardwood, any types of tiles or whatever you have, that's basically how you cut your tiles. And again, I'll take this piece, because this piece, as you can see here, this piece of thing is about, maybe it's a little thicker. But usually baseboards, some baseboard is usually a little bit thinner than your door casing, if you could see that down there. It's got a little, right here, if you see that, you got about an 1/8 of an inch difference here. And here's why these tiles were so hard to put in here. I'm going to show you guys another thing here, why everything came out so messed up. Where is it? Okay, look at this door. Look at this door jamb. Here's my sheetrock where it's supposed to meet this. When they put a door jamb in, they put this door jamb totally crooked on here. That's why when I was trying to make my mark down here, if you look at this side here, I'm going to try to get this a good angle. Look at that. Look at this side of the door jamb. We're flush. This is the sheetrock back here. This is the door jamb edge right here. And if you see, I can rub my finger down there and it's nice and flush. Well, this side, the geniuses that did this side, look at that space, guys. Look at that friggin' space they left between. I'm trying to rub my finger down. I don't know how good it's showing up, but here we go. There you go. So now when you go to put your, look at that gap when I go to put door trim on. So I don't know what I'm gonna do here yet. And it's all the way down the wall. It's all the way down the wall, so I don't know what I'm gonna do about that. But whoever did this door casing here too, this the trim around the door. I mean, this stuff is, look down here. Down here, you have an 1/8 of an inch reveal here. Follow this up, and look at the top of that door casing. Way up here. It's over a quarter of an inch up there. So all these door casings in this apartment are horrible. Horrible, horrible, horrible. Look over here. I don't know if you could see that on camera, but this whole door case in here. Look at this. Look at the space they got in the door case in here now. I mean, it's damaged, so this is all gonna come off. But here we go, halfway up the door casing. Okay? And look at the size of the gap where my finger is. That's almost as wide as my finger. Now I'm gonna come all the way down to the bottom. And here's the bottom of the door casing. It's like a 1/16 of an inch down at the bottom. And then you got up top here. It's a little under a quarter of an inch on top. That's how bad they did this door case. The top piece isn't bad. They were pretty consistent with the top. But that's because, and I'll tell you what, that's because they didn't square the door frame up right. They did not square this door frame up right. And they got a ton of freaking, look at how thick that freaking shim is. And you can see how they hammered in multiple shims on this side. Here they got one, look at that. They're right up against the freaking casing, up against the sheetrock on this side. This is all coming off anyway. Wow. And there you go. Look at this. I could stick the whole door casing in that gap on the top. That's how crooked this freaking, that's how crooked this is, okay? And unless you tear all this out, which the owner of this property is definitely 100% not going to do. And I don't know if you guys could see this on camera, but with my eyes, I'm going to measure this doorway in a minute, because I'm telling you now, this whole freaking door frame is out of whack. This bottom of the door frame's got to be an inch closer from side. It's an inch closer from this side to this side than it is on the top. So that's why this door never closed right. That's the door right there. That's what happens. And I'm going to show you something here. Look at this door now. Look at this door. You see all that damage to this door? I'm sure somebody broke it too, but you see how this is all peeling? Look at this hollow door. And guess what's inside of your doors, guys? Guess what's inside of your hollow slab doors, guys? This is what happens when you buy cheap doors. It's freaking, there's cardboard in there. Oh, timber. That's how light and cheap this door is, as you can see. I barely touched it and it fell over. Look at the damage on this door though. I could pull this all apart. Okay? That's from that door frame being all crooked out of whack. Let me get my measuring tape, because I could see this by eyes. This is how long I've been doing stuff like this. Alright, so my bottom of my door frame. My bottom of my door frame is 26 inches. Okay? I need my other tape measure. This one's not stiff enough. I just like that little tape measure because it doesn't, oh, here we go. Got a DeWalt one. I got tons of tape measures. This is the one I need for this though. I need a DeWalt. Alright. Actually, nope. Okay. Now up here, we got 25 and 7/8. So 26 on the bottom and 25 and 7/8 on the top. There you go. And here's the top of the door where this all started happening. So what happens is with these doors is people slam them because the top is getting caught. Now this all peeled off because the top of the door jamb is off. So when they're opening and closing these doors, and as you can see, this is like freaking press board with a I don't even know what kind of material that is on top, but that door is destroyed. They got paint all over it. No, nothing there to catch the door, close the door. That's what these people do. They kick the doors and slam the doors because they're not closing right. They break everything. It's a rental property, so. And here's my proof of that. What I just said. What I just said. Here's my proof of all that. You see that? That freaking door. Here's your hinge side here. And it was even rubbing up here. Okay? So, the whole time, because this door frame was off on the top. I don't know how they did that. I don't know how they whacked the top of the door. There's got to be, they put a ton of shims. Oh, that's what it is. They got 2 shims up here. So, when they put these 2 full shims in here, side by side, they freaking bowed this. They bowed, this is all bowed out on this side, on the top. So with this bowed a little bit here, it's pushing the door up into that corner. And as you can see, like that's a horrible door installation. Horrible. Like you got your big gap up there, and I'm guessing I'm guessing when I pull this trim off, I'm gonna pull it off right now, because this trim will just, as you can see, foam trim. This is just with my hand. There we go. Yep. Now, if you look at the door on the top, look at the door on the bottom. That whole door is crooked. And the whole door is crooked. That whole freaking door frame is so out of whack. So, before I put a new door in there, I'm going to have to pop some of these shims out. I'm going to take some of these shims out on this side. On that side up there. And then I might leave the bottom. It's a 26-inch door, so it's a small door. But once I get the door, the brand new door in here, then I can kind of set it into the frame while there's no trim on it. You know what I mean? Try to close the door, see what happens, and then what I'll do is I'll have to start popping shims out of the top of this side and try to move this whole doorway over that way. And square it back up on the top, because it's mostly the top that's off. And then I want at least 1/8 of an inch space on each side of my door, even all the way around. You want like 1/8 on the top, 1/8 all down this side, and 1/8 all down that side. Those 2/8 on each side give you 1/4 inch. So if your door expands, if you're in the bathroom, moisture, you know, taking hot showers, that door is gonna any door is going to suck up moisture and expand and contract. So you want like 1/4 of an inch for the door to expand and contract. Then same thing, leave 1/4 inch on the bottom. Depending on how your door swings open, this floor is pretty level now, so I'm pretty good. But I'm going to have to cut the door to the height of this. Because that's gonna be my the saddle. It's gonna have a marble saddle in there. I mean, but because of that, this door and these walls are so crooked. It's, you know, you got to do now a tile job, now a flooring job turns into another whole job of fixing the whole door frame and everything. You know, to make your flooring, now to make my flooring job look good. I mean, it's a rental apartment. The guy really doesn't care, but you know what I mean. I don't want to leave it. When I do a job, I want it to look good when I walk out of here. So if I got to do a little extra work to get the door right and to get my tiles looking the best I could get them to look in something in a place like this, then I'm gonna do what I gotta do. Even if I lose $50, I don't care, because that's my name on that. When my name's on it, I want my name to be right. I don't want, people. I don't want somebody to come in here and say, "Oh, who did that tile? Who did this job?" And this is the problem with contractors and people. If your house is like this, and your apartment is like this, don't expect your contractor to he's gonna do it. You hired a guy to tile your floor, he's gonna tile your floor and do the best he can for what he's got to work with. If the owner of the property doesn't want their doors touched or doesn't want this touched, well, guess what? Then your tiles are gonna end up crooked. If your door and if everything you're working off is not square, tiles are square for the most part. So especially ceramic tile, if everything else isn't square around what you're doing, your floor is gonna look as good as the walls and the door and everything around them. That's just how it goes. Nothing's perfectly square, so you got to do like I showed you guys how to lay this out and do this. That's what you got to do to make everything look good, to get the best results. You know what I mean? Like I said, if this was $1 million house, it'd probably be a little bit better constructed. But I've worked in $1 million houses and apartments. I've worked in all kinds of buildings, commercial, everything. And these are the types of things you run into all over the place. But I'm gonna end my video right now. I gotta let this tile mortar sit up for a little while. I got the heat on in here, and in a little while I'm gonna come back. Actually, I don't even have the grout. The owner didn't even bring me the grout yet, so I might just finish painting. I have to paint this bedroom here. I painted this hallway, and I have to paint this little bedroom here. As you can see, my compound. I came in here and filled all the nail holes and everything on these walls here. And here's a little closet. This is gonna get, now all of this here is gonna be my next video, because I'm gonna run vinyl flooring through this whole apartment. From all through these closets straight. There's not gonna be no transition strips or saddles in the door. Nothing like that.